gamers, this is a follow-up, a part 2 to a video that I made recently about the news that physical discs for video game consoles may be coming to an end. According to Sony, they are going to stop making physical discs, and it caused a bit of uproar. It made a lot of people unhappy. A lot of people on YouTube were making videos protesting and fearmongering a little bit, in my opinion, fearmongering and worrying about their own habits and what it means for them if they're no longer going to be able to collect physical video games. The first video was a little bit of a rant. It was a reaction to some of the videos that I watched, some of the people that I was listening to, and I wanted to come back and have another go at explaining my point of view as to why I'm not that concerned. But I want to do it more like an argument. Look at it from both sides and try not to present it in a way where it is only my opinion about things. I'm going to drop in a few facts as well as opinions and hopefully come to some sort of conclusion. Whether or not that makes any difference to you, makes any sense to you, doesn't really matter. I just wanted to come back and do this again without the rant and the emotion and the passion that I had when I put the first video out. So here we go. I'm not going to go through a massive list. It's not an exhaustive list. There's certainly lots more that could be said about this. Drop that down in the comments if you want to add your own reasons for or against this being a good thing. So I've got a few notes written down, so I will be looking down just to remind myself what I'm going to talk about. The first thing I'm going to start with is that video games are expensive to make. They've always been expensive to make. As time has gone on and things have evolved, however, they've become even more expensive to make. Millions upon millions are going into putting video games out, and there's not a guarantee that that money's going to come back. And there are some astronomical figures for recent video games. One example, Cyberpunk 2077. I can't remember how much money was put into that, but it was a large amount. And the initial release of that game was disastrous, and that could have really shut that company down and brought an end to CD Projekt Red being able to develop more games. So games are expensive to make, and the point that I'm getting to here is that if video game companies, the people who are investing the money into putting the games out, are able to cut down the production costs by scrapping all of the physical elements that are needed to put a video game out, then they may be able to save some money. They may be able to invest that money into the development of the video game, and they may also be able to bring down the cost to you, the consumer. May. I don't know if that'll happen, but that's a possibility. So the second thing that I would like to talk about, and this is kind of opposing what I've just said. If games become only digital releases, there is the fear, because this has already happened, that games will be pulled from the digital stores. You will lose the game that you've paid for, or you may lose some of the content that has been released for the game after the main game has come out. Or you may lose content inside the game if that content has been licensed for a period of time. And we're talking about the music here mainly. In older games, in games behind me on the shelf here, we'll use Grand Theft Auto as an example. There are sometimes fantastic soundtracks which have licensed music. And if you have them on a disc, which can't be interfered with, you can keep that music for as long as you've got the game. If that game becomes a digital-only release with that same sort of soundtrack, there's potential that music can get pulled. For good reason for the artists, but for the person who has bought the game with that content originally in it, to suddenly have that pulled, you might not be happy about that. Moving on to bits inside of consoles. The SSD drives that are becoming the norm now are in lots of ways much better than HDD. I'm going to go through some of the reasons why SSD drives are better. And then we'll talk about some of the reasons why they're not so good. I've got a little list here. I'm going to quickly go through the reasons why SSD is better. Faster load files, programs and operating systems are much quicker. They're more durable, less likely to get damaged. Say if you drop your console somehow, transporting it somewhere, I don't know, or you bang it accidentally. They're quieter, they use less power, they're smaller and they're lighter, so they are better for thin laptops, and they produce less heat and they use less electricity. These are all good reasons to have SSDs instead of HDDs. The downside is that they are generally more expensive, and the chances are, the way things are at the moment, they're probably going to remain more expensive. Over time, however, when it becomes the norm for those to be inside of consoles instead of HDDs, prices might eventually come back down. That tends to be the trend that we see. When something's new, it's got a high price, it becomes a norm, everybody has them eventually, and the prices come down. Collectors love physical games, and that's one of the reasons why people have been so upset. That's one of the things that I have heard when listening to other people talk about this. And they might not be saying that directly, but I think indirectly that's what they're saying. I don't want to stop collecting. I love collecting. I'm addicted to collecting. I don't want to stop collecting. I might one day. I have thought about it. I've thought about that possibility. But I think that is one of the reasons why so many people have been, oh no, because, you know, that's a massive attack on something that people have invested a lot of time in. Physical things, however, take up a lot of space. This room that I'm in right now is jam-packed full of video games and consoles and a TV and laptop. You know, there's only so much space I have, that people have, and I share this space as well. This is not just my space. I share this space. So if it's absolutely necessary, I'm not going to be too bothered about a digital-only world because I will save space. I'm going to do the next one in reverse, and this is the last point that I'm going to make because I don't want this to be a massive video that just goes on and on and on. I don't know what happened to the games I was playing there. The Xbox went off for some reason. Anywho, so the point that keeps getting made, and this is not just to do with video games. I've heard this repeated over and over again for a few years now. Because in many ways, our world is becoming almost fully a digital world. At least a lot of the things that we do, a lot of the things that we rely on to be able to get through our days, or moving towards digital. Money, for example, is almost fully digital. There's lots of other things that could be mentioned, but making the point about video games, people say at some point you won't own anything. And the reason I wanted to do this the other way around is to ask the question, what do you actually own anyways? Just have a think about that for a second, because this was the main thing that I ranted about, and I got a little bit passionate about it. I swore, which is unlike me. What do you actually own? When you buy a video game, when you buy a video game console, what is it that you actually own? Do you own the game? No. If you owned the game, you would be able to do anything you wanted with that game. You can't. Do you own the artwork on the cover? No, you don't. Such things are copyrighted. Logos have trademarks. Do you own the disc? I'm sure it's got some kind of small print that says that you don't. I haven't looked into it. But I'm sure the manufacturers of the disc probably have some rights to ownership. The plastic case is probably going to be the same in some sense. Almost everything that you buy has some small print attached to it that says that you do not own the product. You get to use it. That's the reality of most of the things that we buy. We get to use them, we pay to use them, but we don't pay to own them. So this idea that if video games go all digital, we're not going to own anything anymore. I have all of these things behind us which you could say I've borrowed. I can buy them, I can sell them on, I can play them, but that's about it. I can't make any alterations unless I'm told that I can. Like, for example, if you have a video game that allows you to mod, you can do that, but I can't hack into it illegally and start altering it. You know, I can't take the artwork and use it willy-nilly because it's copyright infringement. So, yeah, that's all I really need to say. If you have the opinion that you are not going to own anything when video games become digital only, question it. Is it really worth making that point? To me, no, it's not. It's not valid. It's not a valid enough point. You'll stop having stuff like this. I mean, you'll still have all of your old stuff if you choose to keep it. You can still have shelves full of old games, but in the future, maybe not. But maybe still, you know, because if you think about it, and this is the final thing that I'll say just to end it, because video game collecting in particular is massive now, it's hugely popular, it's almost mainstream. Everybody talks about the prices of video games. When I go into charity shops, sometimes the person behind the till who's serving has a bit of insight about video game collecting and the prices going up and down. There are companies right now who have capitalized on that popularity. And if the bigger companies decide that they're not going to put out games on discs anymore, if the demand is still there, people still want them, then companies will continue to put them out. I think they will. I think new companies will start up just to put out physical games for people like me. So I hope that this comes across as a little bit less of a rant and more of a let's look at this from both sides type of argument and hold on to a little bit of hope that as the world changes and certain things become the norm, there will still be people, there'll still be video game companies who want to put out the physical. For as long as people want it physical. Maybe we'll see a time later on down the line when, like other things that have been popular in the past, it'll all come to an end. But for now, nothing's coming to an end. Thank you for watching, thank you for liking, thank you for subscribing. Leave some comments down below and tell me about your thoughts on this topic. I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe out there.